This podcast is sponsored by nobody. Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be welcoming back the very gorgeous and awesome Durga McBroom. Had her on last Christmas time, and during that conversation she mentioned that she loved vampire movies, and I took a mental note of that. I was like, oh, I gotta have her on next Halloween time to talk about it, and that's what we're gonna do tonight. We're gonna talk about vampire movies, see how far along she is with projects. I remember she mentioned she was gonna write a memoir, and I know that she had a tour, and I saw posts that she was going out and doing live shows with Lorelei, who's also been on the show, and just to see, what the year of 2022 has taken her, and it's going to be a great conversation. She is so friggin' awesome and so funny. I just love Durga like crazy. She is wonderful. So yeah, here is my new interview with Durga McBroom. Well, Durga, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I see you've been very active lately. You've been traveling around.
Um, well, yeah, I went down south to the Temecula area to
Mm-hmm.
visit my best friend, and then I went to where did I go? Vista to visit another friend,
Yeah,
and spent the weekend down there and got to see Nick Mason last night. He's in town.
nice.
House Full of Secrets and Guy Pratt and the
Mm-hmm.
guys in the that was fun. Yeah, time tends to compress near the end of a trip to LA because everybody's like, "Oh, I want to see you, I want to see you." So I run around and catch as many people as I can, and then am exhausted.
Yeah,
Which is a great way to start a tour.
yeah. It's been 3 years since I've been to LA, and when I go back, hopefully next year, I'm going to be seeing so many people, and I just don't know how I'm going to have time, but hopefully everyone's schedules will be in place. So,
Right.
yeah, so how is it in LA?
It's great. I'm going to play tonight. My friend Megan Gillette is in a play it's called The Great Pretender, and it's on at the Lee Strasberg Institute here in West Hollywood.
Nice.
Yeah, they're in a competition and they've made it to the semifinals, so I got to go support her. Everything's good.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I got a lot going on, but I'm hanging in there. I'm just remaining positive. That's all I can do.
Right, right.
So yeah, last time we talked was in December of last year, and you had mentioned during the interview that you loved vampire movies, so I took a mental note of that, and here we are. So
Yeah.
do you remember the first vampire movie you ever saw?
The first one I ever saw, I'm not sure if it was the first one, but I remember one of the first ones I ever saw
Hmm.
was Count Yorga Vampire. And it scared the living crap out of me. I was a kid, and there's this scene where he comes running in slow motion down this hallway, or
Mm-hmm.
towards somebody, fangs out, arms outstretched, and it gave me nightmares, and I loved it.
Now I'm not too familiar with that one offhand. Was that a Hammer horror or?
No, but it was in that vein. And then, of course, there were all the Hammer horror films, and
Yeah.
the late great Sir Christopher Lee as Dracula, who was absolutely one of the best Draculas. And I actually got to meet him because I was in a film with him.
Ooh.
This horrible film called, well, it wasn't horrible, but you got B movies
Yeah.
and got like Q and T movies.
Yeah.
This is more like a Q movie called The Rosebud Beach Hotel
Right.
with the wonderful, also late great Peter Scolari, uh, and the Curry sisters, Marie and Sherry Curry, were in it,
Yep.
and Frank Drescher
Oh yes.
from the nanny. She's lovely. So basically, it's this really stupid movie about there's this hotel and it's losing money, and the Peter Scolari's character wants to marry the boss's daughter.
Yeah.
And says, well, only if you turn this hotel around, thinking that he's going to fail so he can say you can't marry my daughter. But then when he catches Fran, who's a prostitute, bringing a trick to the hotel, they start this whole thing where they get a whole bunch of hooker bellhops, and they're like running tricks through the hotel, and the hotel starts making money.
Yeah.
And I was one of the hooker bellhops, but Christopher Lee was in that, and he was really, really sweet.
Yeah, someone told I think I heard this in an interview with one of the original Saturday Night Live cast members. He hosted Saturday Night Live on one condition, that he would not be Dracula in a sketch. Instead, they made him Dr. Frankenstein.
That's pretty funny. He was really, he was lovely. He's as nice as you would want him to be. And, I was this wild, thing in the 80s with this wild shock of big curly hair and, playing a hooker bellhop. And I came up and told him how much I loved Hammer horror films and how I had followed him. He was quite surprised, but pleasantly so. And he was very gracious.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, sometimes it's good to meet your idols, depending on who it is.
Right. And then there was Kronos, Vampire Hunter. That was another one that I saw when I was a kid. And there was another one, and I'm trying to think of the name of it, but it was really creepy and scary. And I've always liked scary movies. Yeah.
So how old were you the first time you saw that movie?
Oh, God. I was probably 7 or 8, maybe.
Wow.
Started pretty young. And then I started to really get into them, and books too.
I was maybe 4 or 5.5 when I saw my first vampire movie, even though it wasn't a real vampire movie. It was the Jim Carrey movie Once Bitten.
Oh,
yeah,
I love that movie. And you know what is the weirdest thing? I used to live in Beverly Glen Canyon here in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
and when I looked out of my kitchen window across the canyon, I could see the house that was her house in that movie.
Yeah. Oh, crazy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it scared me. The movie scared me at first, but then when Jim Carrey became famous, that kind of went away, and it's still one of my favorite. There was a trend in the mid '80s. There was all these vampire teen comedies like Fright Night and My Best Friend's a Vampire.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Well, Fright Night was not a comedy. I mean, it kind of was, but it wasn't. Yeah. I love that. Oh my God, that's one of the classics. Did you see the remake with Colin Farrell?
I did. I'm such a purist. I love the original.
I did too, but he was exactly what you want a vampire to be. Mm-hmm. He was sexy, but he was scary. Chris Sarandon as Jerry Dandridge, not really that scary. Maybe a little scary, but not scary. He was sexy though. He was really sexy. I loved him in that. Yeah. And a little aside, I was in Earth Girls Are Easy, which was Jim Carrey's first film. Right. It was him and Jeff Goldblum and Damon Wayans and Gina Davis.
Yep. Oh my God, I love that movie. Chris Sarandon. I met him at Son of Monsterpalooza, or was it the main Monsterpalooza? One of them about 3 years ago. And I've heard all these stories. He's kind of a perfectionist on set. He'll come down hard on you like a diva, right? But when I met him, he was the sweetest guy. And I told him, I said, Chris, you are one of the great American actors. And he said to me, "Thank you, Tommy. I really appreciate that."
That's lovely. Seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, he is. So what are your favorite vampire movies overall?
Well, one of my all-time favorites has got to be The Lost Boys.
Yes.
Absolutely. I saw that movie like 14 times in the theater when it came out. I love... They just haven't started a new series based on Let the Right One In, which was originally a Swedish film. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God! I can't believe. Okay, so the original Swedish film was made called Let the Right One In, and then there was an American remake, of course, called Let Me In, which was okay. The original Swedish one was better, and now there's a series called Let the Right One In. And the premise of the story is there's a little girl who's a vampire. And because she's a little girl, I mean, she can't rent apartments and, do all that kind of logistical stuff. So there's a man who basically takes care of her, who's kind of like her surrogate father. But he's become a serial killer because he goes out and gets her food. He gets her people and like drains them for her and puts it in bottles so she doesn't have to go out and kill people.
Ooh.
And yeah, but she's fierce, a fearsome creature.
Yeah.
But today she's outside, and they got to move around a lot because he's killing all these people.
Mm-hmm.
And she meets a little boy, and they become friends. And that's the premise of. Oh, it's really well done. And the last scene in the original Let the Right One In is one of the scariest scenes I have ever seen.
Nice.
And it's all, a lot of it's suggested. It's amazing. It's you got to see that one.
I'll check it out. Yeah, I love The Lost Boys. I've talked to a few people from the movie, and it was shot in Santa Cruz, which is a couple hours away from my hometown, San Mateo. And
I lived.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, for a while. I got my massage license in Santa Cruz.
Oh,
One of my former best friends used to live there, so I spent a lot of time there.
It's just it's a simple town, and there's not a whole lot to do there except go to the beach. But it seems like a real community out there.
Yeah. Well, I have very mixed feelings about that town. Well, from a different perspective than you, because basically I noticed the first time I went there,
mm-hmm.
It was a good 3 days, maybe 4 days before I saw another black person.
Mm-hmm.
And I was walking down the street, in downtown Santa Cruz, and this guy rolls up on me like I'm a frosty Coke in the desert. He's like, "Girl, what's your name? Where are you from?"
Yeah.
And I just find that this town to be kind of a hypocritical town in a lot of ways because there's so many quote unquote, I call them lipstick liberals, where they're like, "Oh, so I march for civil rights and blah blah," and then they'll clutch their handbag close to them when they get in the elevator with me. So,
I'm sorry you had to go through that. That's awful. Wow.
Life in America. So.
Yeah. In 2013, I was dating a dominatrix, and one night she came over and we watched The Lost Boys, and we had this big old bottle of red wine and some of the best pot I've ever had in my life. And I saw things in this movie I had never noticed before, and I thought it was because I was hallucinating from what we were consuming, right? But the next day, I went back and watched it without enhancements, and I saw, wow, I just never noticed that stuff before. I wasn't hallucinating. What was that?
Like what?
Oh,
like what?
This is just an example. Like near the end, when Ed Herman is starting to slowly, reveal that he's the head vampire. Jamie Gertz says something to him. I can't remember what she said, and he does this kind of evil laugh, and I literally did not notice that for 25, 30 years plus of that. And so while I was high, it made me start laughing because I thought I was just, feeling the effects of what I was consuming. But then I went back and I was like, oh no, it's in there, but I just never noticed it.
Yeah, that was an odd cast.
Yeah.
To have him fire. I that's the only thing about that movie I don't love. And I figured out he was the head vampire like way early on. But anyway. So one of my all-time favorites is a lot of people might not agree with me, but I think Dracula 1979, the one with Frank Langella.
Right.
He is a perfect Dracula. Oh my God. And he's so sexy, but also if you study his performance,
Mm-hmm.
the nuances and the way he studies people like an animal, and like he's not a human being, and he's like pretending to be human.
Mm-hmm.
But if you watch him, he doesn't blink.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever blinks on camera. And that was one thing that it took me a few times watching it to notice. But it's a subtle touch like that. But oh my God, the scene where he comes in to get what's her face? Lucy. When was it Lucy or Mina? They always mix up. Anyway, the one he kills. He's climbing down the side of the building. Have you seen this one? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I haven't seen it in years though.
I watch it regularly. I have a set playlist of films that if I'm in a place that doesn't have Wi-Fi or doesn't have TV, and I need to fall asleep to something, that's number one in the playlist. Is Dracula.
Yeah, I mean,
he climbs down the side of a building, and he's like at her window, and you hear this like scratching, and he's picking the lead off of the leaded windows, the panes, to get one out so he can unlock the door. And you see this hand scratching, and then he kind of turns to look at her, and you realize he's upside down. And it's so creepy. It's so creepy. It's so great.
Yeah, that was Kate Nelligan who played Lucy.
Yeah, she was Lucy, and then so it was Mina, the one. Oh, and that scene with Olivier. I mean, Laurence Olivier's in the movie, for God's sake. He's Van Helsing. When he's in the mines under the graveyard, and to look for Mina when she's become a vampire. When you finally see her, when he drops the cross in the puddle, and then you see her kind of reflection in the water. And then you finally see her, and she's got those like burning red coal eyes, and that flaking cadaver skin. And she starts speaking to him. I guess it's Dutch. Come with me, Papa. And it's just so awful. Oh God. and then when he kills her, and his grief. I mean, he's Olivier, for God's sake.
Of course. Yeah, I do think Frank Langella was great in that, but for my blood, I think Bela Lugosi was so amazing that, I don't think anyone has come close to how menacing he was in that 1931 original. I just think, God, he was just so damn scary. Like when I see it, I still get chills, even though it's an old movie, I still get chills when I see his face.
Well, he's like the original. So I would say, there's Lugosi, and then Lee, and then Langella, and then I'm trying to think of who's my favorite modern vampire. Well, I really like Colin Farrell. I mean, the whole film as a whole is like okay, and for what's his name, Anton? No, it's not Anton. It is Anton. The young actor who died, unfortunately, who plays the main lead. He was quite good at it. But Colin Farrell is a scary, scary vampire.
Yeah, he was pretty scary. Duncan, I just talked to Duncan Rigger, who played Dracula in the Monster Squad, and somebody like some poll like voted him the scariest Dracula of all time or something, right? He was pretty damn scary, but it's a comedy, so it doesn't really count.
He was okay.
Yeah.
My friend Jonathan Fries was the Wolfman in that.
Oh yes. Yeah, John Grise, oh my God, he is a funny character actor.
Yeah, he is. I was in a play with him once. He's a cool guy.
Yeah. Oh my God, he was Laszlo in Real Genius. He stole that whole movie.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Jack Palance played Dracula in '74 in that TV movie?
I do. But to me, Dracula's got to be sexy. And he's not sexy. He's an ugly motherfucker. Yeah. So I was, not feeling it. And in fact, there was a series that they did on the BBC recently.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was not really taken by that series, because the guy they cast as Dracula just wasn't sexy. He was funny. But you gotta imagine, as a woman in particular, willingly baring your neck to this man, to this creature. And you gotta seduce me to do that. And if I don't find you attractive, you're not seducing me.
Mm-hmm.
See, now Gary Oldman's Dracula, he is such a phenomenal actor.
Yeah.
That he carried it off. Although I don't particularly find Gary Oldman sexy, but as Dracula, he was kind of sexy. The problem with that film, oh my God, between Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder's execrable English accents,
right,
they destroyed that film. Oh, Mr. Excellent Count. It's just no. So that's not why. Gary Oldman was amazing, but everybody else, aside from Sir Anthony Hopkins, who was great.
Yeah.
It just, when you've got two of the major characters who are just butchering the language, and added to the film just for box office draw, that was very unfortunate.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Vamp?
Of course.
Yeah, that's my favorite vampire movie of the 80s, and I just talked to Dee Pfeiffer, who was in that, and I'm going to be dropping that episode on Halloween. It was wonderful. And yeah, I love that movie. I think Quentin Tarantino ripped off a lot of elements of it from Dusk Till Dawn,
Which I also love. That's a great one. That's a really good one. Grace Jones is an old friend of my family. My oldest sister, Marcia, was a modeling contemporary of hers. They met modeling together, and in fact, Marcia is her son's godmother. And then my other older sister, Dana, or one of my other older sisters, co-wrote "Pull Up to the Bumper" for Grace.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think she was very sexy in that role.
Yeah, she was amazing. She was perfect. She was flawless in that.
Yeah. There's The Hunger with David Bowie and Susan Sarandon.
Oh yeah, I love that too. That one, that was pretty flawless. And again, Catherine Deneuve, she could bite me.
Yeah.
She's hot. Are you kidding?
Oh yeah, there's a guy I know who's a podcast host up in Canada. He is like obsessed with Catherine Deneuve, and he's been trying to get a guest from that movie. What's that movie she did in '67? It was like considered one of the best French movies of all time. But yeah, I mean he
I can't remember.
Yeah, but he worships her. Near Dark.
Oh my God. Yeah, that film is brutal. It's brutal, but it's brilliant. It's so good. Yeah, that's a really good one too. There's another one. What is it? It's like, I want to say Tears of a Crocodile or something like that. I'm blanking on the name of it right now. I hated it. That's one of the only vampire movies I didn't like. It was really, really... Unfortunately, it was probably the most realistic, if vampires actually exist. And what is his name? I'm trying to think of Jude Law.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know the film I'm talking about?
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it. I haven't seen a lot of newer ones, to be honest.
It was really horrifying. And I didn't like it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Was that bad, huh?
Well, no, it was actually really good. But the thing... the reason I know I like vampire films is because, like I said, you want to imagine that you would want to be bitten. But he was like just a total predator, and it was horrifying. I mean, it was a very slow-paced film as well, so maybe that had something to do with it. But it creeped me out. I didn't like it. Near Dark, they were also predators, but it just worked. It worked better for me. I love that film.
Have you seen Andy Warhol's Dracula?
A long time ago, and it was so camp. I was just like, as well as Fearless Vampire Killers.
Uh-huh.
That's really bad. Although Sharon Tate is just mesmerizing to watch on film. She was so lovely, and that was such a shame that she was murdered like that.
You're absolutely right about the camp element of Warhol's Dracula. I just love what's his name though in it though, Udo Kier, who had done Frankenstein with him too, and
right.
Those movies are just so damn morbid, you know.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. What was I going to say? Blade. Blade is really good. The first two.
Yeah.
Blade and Blade 2 are really great. The last one, the third one, Blade Trinity, was garbage. I was not feeling that. But that first scene in the first one was awesome. Tracy Lords, she's great. She's a nice person too. I've met her. She's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see in hindsight that was like the beginning of CGI and the direction that the film industry was going to take, you know, with the first Blade.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It was.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, yeah, it was a pretty good movie, and Chris Christopherson was hilarious in that.
Yeah, he was good. Old crusty old guy. Now, I would love to see, which they've done it a couple of times, but I still don't think they've quite gotten it right.
Mm-hmm.
Is Salem's Lot.
Oh yeah.
Because the book terrified me. Yeah. Oh my God, that book horrified me. And then they did the movie of the week, and that the scene with little what's his face floating outside the window, that was pretty creepy.
Yeah.
But they have yet to come out with a really definitive version of that, I think. Yeah,
the original movie was a TV movie, and I talked to James Mason's grandson recently, and he told me he told me he gets horror fans coming up to him all the time saying your grandfather was awesome in Salem's Lot.
Yeah, he was, but still, it was a TV movie, and it was kind of shitty. And compared to how much the book terrified me,
mm-hmm.
It needs to be redone now, I think, with current day special effects and like that. I would like to see that done. Now, I actually hear they're making Lost Boys, and I'm really pissed off about it because the people that I've seen so far that are supposed to be in it have none of the charisma of the originals. I mean, I was obsessed with Jason Patrick. He was so gorgeous, and I actually went to see him in a play here in West Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my friend went and screamed and hooted and hollered through the whole play because he was like shirtless through most of it. But he was really. And after the play, I waited to meet him, and he was really kind to me, and he walked me to my car, and he was lovely. He's really short, though.
I met him. Yeah, he was nice. I liked him.
Yeah, and that was back. Lisa Bonet was there at the play when she was still married to Lenny Kravitz, and so I have no shame. I walked up to them all ebullient and bubbly and just like, blah, 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 and because she had the same spiritual teacher. Actually, her spiritual teacher was the student of my spiritual teacher. So I started trying to talk to her about that. And she and Lenny looked at me like I had a third arm growing out of my forehead. So I was like, all right, nice talking to you. Yeah. And Jason, again, was very lovely. He was really sweet.
Yeah, I love a woman with no shame and no boundaries. They get my heart.
Yeah, especially back then, you couldn't tell me nothing. Okay, I'm trying to think of some other favorites. What are you?
Oh yeah, here's a favorite of mine: George Romero's Martin.
Have I seen that? I'm sure I must have, but didn't make an impression if I saw it.
Well, it's not about an actual vampire. It's about an outcast who likes to drink people's blood because
Right.
those
Well,
kind of
that-
guys, they're out there. And I remember like 25 years ago, I saw A&E's The Unexplained, and they were doing
Yeah.
a piece on those kind of people. And I'm like, God,
Yeah.
that is so gross.
Yeah, pretty gross.
Yeah.
But, you know.
You never know if you're going to contract something. It's just
Right.
awful that there's people out there. It's creepy, but yeah, Martin is a great movie, and John Amplis, who played Martin.
I have to think of it, but that's why I didn't really like it, because it wasn't like it was people who thought they were vampires.
Yeah, a blood drinking movie.
Right.
But John Amplis is so good in it, though, because he's got that baby face that makes him look so wholesome, but he was pretty scary in the part.
Right.
What else?
Underworld. Great series of films.
Underworld, I haven't seen those.
Oh my God! Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, she's amazing. As Selena, the werewolf hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you need to see those.
Okay, I'll check them out. How about Vampire in Brooklyn with Eddie Murphy?
Oh, love that.
Remember what he says? He says, "I've been stabbed and I've been shot, even broken on the rack once. No, I've been stabbed, I've been hung, I even broken on the rack once, but I've never been shot. Ooh, it kind of itches a little."
Itches a little, yeah. Oh, I love that he brought his love of horror to the community, and he did a good job. I like that film. I actually love that film.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
It was pretty scary, and it was Wes Craven too.
Was it Wes Craven?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, he once said that Eddie told him that The Hills Have Eyes is his favorite horror movie.
Oh, huh. What do you know? I thought it was John Landis, but I'm confusing things.
Oh no, that's Innocent Blood. I love that movie.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that film. That's one of my favorites also. Yeah, that's a good vampire.
Don Rickles makes a scary vampire.
Don Rickles as a vampire. Who would have thought? Oh, yeah, that's a great one. Anne Perriot makes a great vampire.
Yeah.
Don't play with food.
Did you ever? So I take it you've probably had a crush on a few people who played Dracula or vampires.
Uh-huh. Well, I said Frank Langella, but actually, a very dear friend of mine. There was a television series, based on Dracula for a while, and Dracula was played by Michael Nouri.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in Flashdance with him, and he's one of my best friends, actually. He was a sexy ass vampire. I always tease him about it. And I was like, "Why didn't you invite me at my house?"
It's not too late. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of great vampire movies out there, I'm surprised that, vampire movies haven't starting to become old hat like zombie movies are starting to. The Walking Dead, I think, just completely changed changed zombies, but not for the better,
Right. I liked it. I watched that show up until they killed Glenn, and I was like, it was so gruesome that I was like, nah. I stopped watching it then, and it's been on for like 4 more seasons since then, at least. I've never been a big zombie fan. Mm-hmm. I mean, 28 Days Later, that's a great zombie movie. World War Z, that's a good zombie movie. But for the most part, I don't understand the appeal. It's just, just such gratuitous violence and, the rending of flesh and ripping apart of bodies. The thought of being eaten alive like that is just gross. Now, Dracula Untold, that's a good vampire movie.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
I enjoy it. Charles Dance as the vampire that changes him
Yeah, that's a good one. God, yeah, there's so many so many I'm blanking on right now, but those are the all the ones I mentioned, those are like the rundowns of my favorite,
Yeah, me too.
So I remember last time we talked, you mentioned that you were doing you were going to be doing the Cruise to the Edge cruise, right? So how was that when you did it?
Oh, it was wonderful. My sister and I finally had our own set for the first time, as well as singing with Dave Kersner. So it's always really gratifying when you have a song that you've visualized and then you've recorded it, but then to play it live with a really good band, that's always really fun. And then we added some classic covers of some things too, like I did Personality, and that went over really well. And you get to also, on Cruise to the Edge, you get to watch all these other bands and meet some of your heroes, and then you cross-pollinate a little bit and you start creating, side projects and, going up and, like Billy Sherwood, who plays bass with Yes, I worked with him on something else. And then, we're working on stuff. We're on the last 2 Steve Hackett albums, Lorelai and I.
Yeah.
And we're going to be one. And working with somebody like Steve Hackett is just such a privilege. He's master and such a lovely person. Plus, you get to, have a lovely cabin, to yourself and go to some great ports of call and eat way too much food and hang out with some really appreciative fans. So it's just a win-win all around, basically.
Yeah. Oh my God, Steve Hackett. I mean, that guy. I mean, he got out of Genesis before before they all sold their souls, for mainstream pop.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a very talented guy. Were there any comedians on that cruise?
Like actual comedians?
Yeah, like performing.
No.
I heard some crazy shit the other day. When you're a comedian and you're on a cruise, depending on how high class it is, if you use vulgarity, they will literally get you a helicopter to get your ass out of there.
What?
Yeah, yeah. If you're vulgar, because they want to do it like it's a corporate gig, kind of, where you have to be PG or G-rated, to do comedy. But if you're like vulgar, they will literally get a helicopter to like take you home.
Really? I have never heard. That's good to know.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
They're a little more relaxed than that. And then they even have other cruises, like there was an EDM cruise or something. I remember the first time we did Cruise to the Edge, we followed on that ship, on the same ship, like this EDM cruise. And there was this one room where they did the karaoke, and they had karaoke competitions and stuff. I usually am a judge at that. But they had these kind of like lounge bed things that people could lay on, and there were like these kind of velvet walls or suede or something. And I remember like seeing scratch marks, and we were like, what the hell went on? And somebody told us that like the last night of the EDM cruise, they had like a big orgy in that room. So
nice.
Some cruises are different than others. Let's just put it that way.
Did you
Cruise to the Edge like that?
Did you participate?
No, I didn't go on that cruise. That was a cruise before our cruise. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't. No, I did not.
How far along are you with your memoir?
I'm about, I'd say a little over a third of the way through. So I've got a lot to finish. I'm just trying to get a booking agent, not a booking agent, a literary agent.
Yeah.
And get an advance so that I can sit down and really like just lock myself in my house and just work on my book and have some money to support myself while I do that. So that's one thing that I'm working on. But I've got some great chapters. I just wrote recently a chapter. My sister and my brother-in-law, Paul Litteral, Hollywood Paul Litteral, her former husband, the father of her son, my nephew Miles, used to live in Nashville, and I used to go visit them a lot when I wasn't touring or whatever. When I lived in the UK, I'd come for some, family time, come for holidays, things like that. And then one time when I was there, the Stones were performing down in Atlanta, so I drove down because it's pretty close. and because that's where they met. They met on the Steel Wheels tour or the Urban Jungle tour. Anyway, so talked about hanging out with Mick Jagger, but really also talked about going to a Christmas party at Keith Richards' house.
Wow.
That was fun. Keith is he's everything you think he is.
Yeah.
He's down, laid back, lovely man. Yeah. So
yeah. blues aficionado and everything. Yeah, I've heard a lot of stuff about Keith, and that's so awesome that you got to experience that.
Yeah, I'm very happy about that, and not everybody can say that they sat down and smoked a joint with Keith Richards, but I can.
Love it.
And he passed it to me, and what are you gonna do when Keith Richards hands you a joint? You're gonna smoke it. And he took me on a tour in his library, and we were talking about some of the art and the books and stuff. I don't remember anything that we said because he has really good weed. So I don't remember anything except laughing and sitting and having a lovely time with him because he's such a nice guy.
Yeah, well, I've been lucky. I've been able to share a joint and share a bed with some famous people, which I'm going to mention, not by name, but I'll tell the stories in my book that I'm writing. It's starting to take on a life of its own. I have to reconstruct the book because it was originally going to be like a part movie guide and part memoir, and then I realized so many fucking people are historians and writing movie guide shit. I think I should just speak, a little bit more from the heart and be a little bit more honest and tell stories that I've never told before and all that. So that's what I'm working on with my book.
Oh, good. That's great. Yeah, I've got some erotica in my book as well, and some of it involves some rather famous people.
Love it. I want to... Yeah, I want to write an erotica book in the future too, where I talk about crazy sexual experiences I've had and fantasies. But the whole twist is going to be I'm not going to tell you what's real and what's fantasy. The reader has to decide what's what.
Well, all of mine is real.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so it's going to be like a half and half sort of thing once I finally write that book. I have at least 3 books in me. I want to write about my bar days of working in the bar scene because I experienced a lot of crazy shit there too. And
oh yeah,
yeah, and
What city?
I'm sorry.
What cities?
Let's see. I worked the bar in San Mateo, California, and South San Francisco.
Okay. Because I worked at a bar called the Pink here in Los Angeles.
Oh yeah, I know that place.
Yeah, I opened that place. I painted those bathrooms before they opened, and that was one of the hottest clubs in LA at the time. Madonna was in there all the time, and Dennis Hopper.
Wow.
And yeah, it was pretty cool. Judd Nelson. Yeah, it was a fun place to be in the '80s, and it was so intense though that I was 21 bartending there, and after 6 months I had to quit because I was burnt out.
Yeah, wow. God, yeah, it would have been just so fantastic to be there at that point in time. I mean, cocaine was everywhere. There was very few boundaries. God, it was a magical time to be there.
Yeah, that was a fun place. And plus, after 2 a.m. on the weekends, we would lock the doors. Some other local bartenders would come in.
Mm-hmm.
We'd lock the doors and stay partying until 6 in the morning.
Oh yeah, we did that at the bar in San Mateo that I worked at. We'd close at 2 a.m. and we would be there at least until 4 or 5, and we'd be sitting around telling each other dirty jokes and cleaning up. And then once we were done, we would order pizza, and some of us would go off into various bathrooms and have sex with somebody or something. It was crazy.
Yeah, we could stay dancing too.
Yeah, I was there 2 years. Near the end, though, the cops kind of got suspicious of it, right? And so we had to kind of not do that anymore. By the last couple of months I was there, they got really suspicious, and the police chief, he hated my boss, like, just personally, and he had heard all these things about him and all that shit, so we had to kind of wrap it up near the end. But before that, oh god, it was a lot of fun. We were like the Studio 54 of San Mateo.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sneezing.
Oh, it's okay. I got allergies too. It's all good. So you're gonna be going back to Italy soon?
No, I'm going on tour. I'm going to Argentina and Paraguay.
Oh, nice.
On November 7th.
Have you ever been to those places?
I've been
Bless
to
you.
Argentina. I've never been to Paraguay. So I'm doing Argentina and Paraguay. Then I got to go back to Italy for like 2 weeks. Then I'm coming back down to Chile with Scott Page, Machan Taylor, and my sister Lorelai. Then she and I are going back down to Argentina, and then I'm going home for Christmas.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you mentioned to me about your eye, and God, yeah, that's terrible. So it must be, you must be in a lot of pain.
No, it doesn't hurt. I'm concerned, about getting the last stitch out and being able to see.
Do you have any upcoming projects you'd like to mention?
Excuse me.
Bless you. Besides the touring.
No, that's about it right now.
Okay, I got a couple jokes for you. You know the difference between a golf ball and a G-spot?
No.
A man rather spend 20 minutes looking for a golf ball.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. What do you call a boy that doesn't masturbate?
I don't know.
A liar.
True. That's it.
Yes. Full disclosure, I did it twice today, and it was a very eventful day.
Okay. Thanks for sharing.
Absolutely. That's what I'm here for. Durga, thank you so much for coming back on and having this awesome conversation about vampires and the excesses of life.
Yes. And, one thing we didn't touch on is I actually wrote a term paper on the existence of vampires in college.
Oh.
And there's a lot to be said about that supports the veracity of that archetype. Because pretty much every culture in this world has their version of a vampire myth.
Mm-hmm.
I happen to think that they are a variant of the human species that split off early on. Maybe I kind of think maybe some other more advanced alien life form came and mixed our DNA with some different terrestrial animals.
Yeah.
And maybe vampires came from that.
Maybe.
Or they're extraterrestrials themselves. Oh! Speaking of which, the worst vampire movie. Oh God! Don't tell me I'm blanking on the name of it. It's the one with Steve Railsback where they're space vampires.
Life Force.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That is the most horrible vampire movie ever made. It's hilarious. It's bad. You know what's the best thing to do though if you watch that movie?
What?
Watch the extras.
Yeah.
I was rolling on the floor laughing watching these extras when London gets overrun because they are working for their little $40. Okay, it's hysterical. It's so funny.
Patrick Stewart was once asked, "Who was your first on-screen kiss?" He said, "Steve Railsback."
Yeah, and I just recently rewatched Dracula 2000. Okay. With oh damn it. The guy from This Is Sparta. What's his name? What?
Johnny Lee Miller?
No. Yeah, he was in it.
But Gerard Butler.
Yes. He played Dracula. He was a decent Dracula, but that movie just was trash.
Yeah. Did you at least get an A on that paper?
Yes, I did.
Nice.
Of course I did.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, let me know when the book is finished because I do want to read it, and we'll talk again. Have a happy Halloween season. Be safe out there, and the rest of the holidays. Be blessed.
Absolutely, and Make sure that you keep some garlic by your door.
Yeah. You as well, and keep a cross.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Durga. Well, there you have it. Durga McBroom. Ain't she a sweetheart? I just love having her on. She is just amazing. That was a great conversation, and I'm glad we got to talk about vampires. Woohoo! Yeah, oh, that's going to be a good book when it comes out. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes.